Hi, this video is going to be a continuation on the video I made last week about parameter locks in Bitwig. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description so you can follow along if you want to make this patch. So I've been expanding upon the whole idea of parameter locks in Bitwig and expanding upon this polygrid patch over the last week. And yeah, I just want to show you some of the things you can do with it, some of the ways you can make it more into a full-fledged sequencer within this whole kind of parameter locks patch. So yeah, I'll play you a patch right now that's just controlling phase 4, and then I'll give you a rundown of all the new features and some of the ways you can set all this stuff up. So yeah, here's just kind of like a glitchy sort of little percussive patch I just programmed right before doing this video. Alright, so as you can see, this is just one instance of phase 4, and because it's parameter locks, it's per step modulation, so each step has a different set of parameters. And so now I have these other sequencers that are now all synced up to it. And so you can see here, if I put solo on and move the step, as you can see down here, these steps move and these steps move. So the whole thing is now synced up to the steps knob. And I have now also this solo follow. So like if I'm playing the patch, so I can just hit solo at any point and then dial in those parameters. So like here. So like let's say now I want to change the parameters for this step. So I can see that that's this step right here. So I can just turn that modulator on and then change whatever I want. So I could change those parameters there, and then I can also change anything on here. So like if I want to add some stutters, I can do that. So yeah, it's kind of cool being able to have all this linked up and then being able to get really specific step by step and dial in the settings you want. And it makes it pretty easy and quick to do kind of glitchy sequences because you just go step by step, you know, make a cool sound out of it. And in some ways, for me, it ends up being quicker than just kind of like doing rough modulation and trying to clean it up afterward. So, yeah. And then, so what are the other things I added to the other things I've added to the patch from the last video would be, well, for one, I added a smooth knob. That's generally for if I'm using it for like, I don't know, like a morphing bass sound or something like that instead of a sequence where I want, you know, more, interpolation between the steps. And then I added this direction knob. I made a video about how to add direction about a year ago, but I've improved on the way I'm doing it right now. So I'm gonna be following this up with other videos, probably about how to make the individual components and how to kind of get them all to work within this patch. And I'm also going to be improving upon the ideas from the glitch sampler series I did last year. So a lot of the techniques I had in that video were kind of roundabout and overly complicated. So I've kind of really improved upon that design to get it more CPU friendly and to just be working better. And now it all works within this whole parameter lock system. And part of the way I'm doing that is by basically the phase for everything within this sequencer is all just simply controlled by the knob that was in the original patch over here. If you made the patch, it had the motion knob. So the motion is basically being sent into, if you look at the grid patch, it's being sent into, oops, where is it? Here it is. It's being sent into this little motion knob over here that's controlling the phase of everything. And so that's why I'm able to now, you know, turn this knob and being able to have the entire thing synced up. And so anyway, now I have direction too. So I have forward, I have reverse, I have pendulum. Let me shorten the length so we don't have to wait for the whole thing. And then we have random. All right. So I'll put it back over here, put the length up. So then now I also added in a little stutter knob just so you can just hit it for any step and stutter. And then a little freeze knob that'll just, it's kind of like the solo, but it'll just freeze any step. It's like that, but it adds stutters when it freezes. Oh, looks like I have a glitch on it. All right, I have to fix that. It keeps repeating the same step. Some of the bugs still need to be worked out on this patch, but most of everything is all working correctly. I've been kind of testing it out for the last little bit. So anyway, let me show you some of the other things. So I have 3 different versions of the sequencer over here. Instead of putting everything in one just for the sake of saving CPU, I have 3 different versions now. So you can see them labeled over here. I have no slicer, with slicer, and then with XY sequencer. So if I turn this off, I'm going to turn on the one that says with slicer, and then I'm going to change the patch. So I have this old school break from the 60s that I just threw into a sampler. And so this one sends slicing information out to the timbre of control of the note grid. So if you want to modulate, so if you want to slice it, you basically just modulate, assign the timbre to the play position of a sampler, and it'll work. And I'm probably gonna have to show a video on how to do this because I've changed the way I've been doing it. I've done multiple methods to do slicing within the grid like this, but this one kind of has a lot of math involved because there's it's all this down here, which might look a little complicated. It's because I needed it to work at all different tempos and different sample lengths, you know, because I have an option to adjust the sample lengths, which changes the resolution of the slicing. So I'll let you see this working. So yeah, it sounds a little rough. I just kind of threw that in before making the video too, just to demonstrate it. I haven't really done any actual sound design with all this patch yet. I've just been kind of working on ironing out the bugs, getting everything to work correctly. But yeah, basically, just like the other one, you have per step modulation, so you can, you know, go to any step. Oh yeah, and first, before I show you that, I'll show you. So within this sequencer, I can change. I have independent timing for these sequencers, so I can make half or double the gate time or the sequencer time. So so you can see this one's running at half time, or you can run it double time. Okay, and then I can change the resolution of the sampler of the slicing. So which is kind of important depending on if you have a 1 bar or 2 bar or 4 bar sample. So here I can, you know, make it'll sound weird, but I can change it. Or I can bring it up really high, it'll sound like time stretching. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so that's the slicing. I'm still kind of ironing out some of the stuff, but it all works. Yeah, and just like the other one, so you can hit solo and just move the step around. And I have it set that when you hit solo, it just sends a repeating gate so that you can just dial in that parameter, you know. So now if I want to change this from being a snare, I could just move up and down the slicer to decide which slice I want to be in there. And then I can also, you know, mess with the so where are we? Move the step. We were over here. Okay, so I can go to this step right now and I can change whatever parameters on the sampler I want to. So like if I want to put it in granular and you know, I can do that, and that'll be just for that step because it's parameter locks. And then I think I skipped over some of the other stuff from these. Let me go back to the one without slicing because it's just a little simpler to see everything that's going on, and I'll put back on phase 4. Or you know what? Let me do this. Let me open up a new phase 4, just so that there's no complicated modulation, just to make it really easy to hear everything that's going on. All right. So if I open up again this sequencer, you can see. I'll show you what the other rows are, because I don't think I went over that. Do I have it on solo? Yeah, I have it on solo. Let me lower the sustain on this. Oh, it's the stutters. Okay, I was hearing these stutters. It was weirding me out. Let me just bring that. So I have this little arpeggiator. If I turn off all that. Oh, it's stutters too. Let me just turn off all the stutters, just to give us a straight. And I can also turn this off, just to give us okay. So now all we're hearing is just straight gates, okay? So the first thing we have up here is the pitch information. So it's off right now. If I turn sequencer on, we'll be able to hear it. Okay, and then we can select key track, which will follow the keyboard. Or else if I turn that off, it'll just follow whatever note is set over here. So let me turn off the sequencer right now. So it's just playing G0s. Let me bring it up a little bit. Just here. All right. So now I also added in this kind of like sort of arpeggiator style thing. So I have a control over here that allows us to alternate the octaves. So if I put it up to, it can go between 1 to 4 octaves. You can see it's 1. Okay, and then with that I have pattern control. So I have either up, down, or down, up. So you can see if I put it up on 4. So that's up, and then I have down. And then the other way. Okay, and then I have this ARP time control over here. And then I have also this LFO takeover that'll let this LFO control the pitch, and it'll override this sequencer. Okay. And then I have over here, so this is just the gates, and then this allows you to draw in stutters. And then this down here is gate. This is probability, so if this is like at 50%, only half the steps or so will be triggered. Okay. And then gate length is down here, and then I have an option to turn it on, or else just have this knob control it. So yeah, if I turn this, then we'll have all the same gates. And then yeah, so we can just draw these in. When you have these fast stutters, though, it ends up being useful to bring the gate length bring the gate lengths down during those stutters, or else sometimes you don't hear all of them because they just end up going over each other. And then so yeah, so you can see you have basically all these step sequencer options, but yeah, on top of that you have all the parameter locks. So, you know, again, so I'll show you. We could just hit solo, go to any step we want, and just dial in the settings we want. So like, you know, I can come over here, decide what I want. If I want any repeats, I can bring this down. Oh, that sequencer's off, but if I turn the sequencer on, decide the note. Okay, turn these down. It's a little bit annoying. All right, and then we can, you know, and now of course for this step too, we can go in here and just manipulate anything we want on this patch. And then that'll just be for that step. So now if he turns up, I know this sounds a little weird, but you know, just random program. Okay, so yeah, so that's basically what all these features are right now. And then I also added one over here that's got my whole whoops, that's the quantizer. I forgot to mention, I have a pitch quantizer at the end too. But so this one has the whole XY sequencer that I did on another video. So that's just over here. So this allows you to control it by the XYs. So you have a button over here that you can just turn the XY gates on to override the gates from the sequencer. And then you also have, and then what I have over here is a knob that selects pitch source. So if it's on the left, the pitch comes from an LFO. If it's in the center, the pitch comes from here, from the sequencer. And if it's to the right, it comes from the XY sequencer. So if I, hit a note, we'll hear this really random movement from the XY. Yeah, obviously it sounds a little odd, but I haven't really programmed anything. Probably would want much shorter gates with that. And if you haven't seen the video, I have a video showing how to build an XY sequencer. So the way that works is just that you have an X and a Y and you modulate them. So I just have an X LFO and a Y LFO that are modulating the X and the Y. But yeah, if they're synced, all this should be actually synced up still to the knob. So that's the cool thing, is it just gives you all these different sequencer options that'll all be synced up within the parameter locking patch. And yeah, I think I explained that, yeah, the important thing to get all this to sync up, I can't remember now if I went over that, is that basically instead of having a transport or a phase or whatever for your timing for these sequencers, is just that they're all being controlled essentially by a knob that's the motion knob from the original patch. So, the motion is all controlled, just like with this step, everything is controlled by this knob, so that's controlling the timing for everything. And yeah. Yeah, let me put back on the funner phase 4 patch. That's too high. Bring this down to G. I think I had it at G0. Oh, I changed all the modulation. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, and if you didn't see the other videos, the other options I have, you might be wondering why I'm only going through 4 sequencers. So I have this length knob that will allow us to go to 1, 2, 4, 8. So if it's over here, it plays 1. Over here, it'll play 2. And then if I put it up here, it'll do all 8. But I haven't programmed anything down here, so you won't hear anything. Yeah, and then I have just different rate options, and again, it's all synced. And I don't know if I mentioned that, yeah, these other sequencers can run at, I have them at half or double time of the main sequencer, but yeah, I have a pretty big range. I can go really, really fast to really, really slow. Yeah. And the really, really slow would not be as much used for sequences like this. That would be more used if I'm doing like a smooth modulation. Yeah, anyway, so I'm probably going to follow up to make some videos showing how to actually connect all these kind of sequencers specifically within the parameter locking patch to have everything sync up correctly. Yeah, okay, thanks for watching. Bye.